Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Fresh Crits of Melbourne. And where today we are with the Northern Cycling Club, who have a ripper circuit down near Coburg. And they race on Sundays. And the good news is they actually race throughout winter, so make sure you go and check them out. A fantastic circuit. It was a ripper Sunday morning for this one, and a beautiful ride up. If you're coming from Bayside, you can actually take bike trails all the way to the venue, which is awesome. There was not a breath of wind. It was perfect conditions ultimately, and we've actually raced here before. But before we get into the actual race or the course rather, just want to talk through a couple of key riders that we're with today. So I'm here with Menzies, as you can see there, with the R33 new R33 kit on with a focus there. Behind him, we've got the marvelous Nick Owen, absolute powerhouse, superior athlete there. In this race as well, we have about 3 Cycle House riders, so that's going to be very, very interesting. We've got a couple of Team Human Key Locksmiths, which is a team, and they have some really, really strong riders with the likes of Adam Olsen's as well as Michael Gallagher. So stay tuned for that. The course itself was pretty nice, flat all the way around, apart from a little rise at the back of the course. You can kind of see us moseying our way up there now. So Northern Cycling aren't interested in your traditional 50+3 sort of racing format. They're more interested in going a bit long range, which I actually really like. So they do something like this one turned it into about a 70 minute plus one. Which makes things really, really interesting. Nutrition comes into play, but I was cramping up by the end. As you can see, Adam on the left-hand side in the Human Key Locksmith kit. It was awesome. It was an awesome race. So let's get stuck in. Let's highlight a couple of the key moves that played out in this race and see how we go. Oh, doesn't he look good there, Nick Owen? Whoa. So we're living the real-life inception right now. I've been able to grab some footage off Menzies' GoPro, which he recorded the race with. So as you can see right now, it's still very, very early in the race. We're about 4.5 minutes in. I'm having chats to Adam from the Human Key Locksmith, as you can see there in the green, black, and white kit, where Menzies thinks with me on the front, not wearing R33 kit, so effectively black ops, this is a perfect time for Menz to launch a bit of an attack off the front. So sends it up the road, puts in a big effort, and is swiftly joined by Paul as well. So what a great time to launch an attack, because it's completely caught the group napping. As you can see from my cam, they've already got established a nice cheeky break up the road, and with zero response from the peloton, this break is already looking really good. So great time to launch an attack. And if you're wondering why I look so good in this race, well, that's because I'm actually wearing one of Bionico Cycling's new skin suits, which I'm going to put in a link below. Check out his product range. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm sure Colombian Dave will look after you. So, look, let's skip a little bit further ahead and see how this one works out, and we take it from there. All right, so we're 18.5 minutes into this race. Menz and Paul are still up the road, rolling turns really, really well, working together, not foxing, all really clean, acting like good teammates. It's when Nick, as well as a couple of Cycle House riders, launch a bit of an attack up the road. So I want to get involved in this, because if this break sticks, this is a good one to be involved in. It's got the right batch of people in it. So I spike up to 1,000 watts to try to not just drag everybody along with me, but try to get involved and bridge a bit of a gap. But as you can see in the rear cam, Adam is all over this, and he quickly jumps into the drops and sprints across to join me. Now, what I didn't realise is the guys that were in this break doesn't look like they're working too cohesively together. So the break, falls apart almost straight away, and we're kind of joined all back at the hip. All together again. Now, what I want to talk about now is looking at the different plans that we had coming into this race. So coming into it, we were hoping to get Menz up the road early, so I could then allow myself to sit in. And if that doesn't work and the brake gets caught back, the goal was to give Nick Owen a bit of a lead out, because he's helped me out a few times down at Glenvale. So that's the ultimate plan we had coming into this race. And so far, everything is working out. We've got Menz up the road, which allows me to sit in. So things are working out really, really well. But like, as I'm sure you're aware, the other teams have different plans that they want to put together. So right now, as we coming up to the uphill section of the circuit, we've got these two cycle house guiders doing a seated acceleration here, and you see the guy in the blue kit. He doesn't want to get involved in that. All he had to do was put in a couple of extra watts to keep in the wheels. But because he's now left a gap open, those guys are talking to each other saying, we've opened up a gap here. Let's pin it a little bit. And surely but quickly, that gap opens up ever so slightly. And it doesn't take much on a circuit like this to get a gap to stay away. So I'm in panic stations at the moment, and I'm chatting to Nick saying, let's have a crack here. But he's already knows. As you can see him, he telegraphs it by putting his hands into the drops, has a bit of a look around, make sure it's all good. And then as he winds up for a bit of a sprint, the world slows down as he puts so many watts down and he bridges across. And I'm happy to sit in his draft and get towed along as well. But obviously, you can see in the rear cam there, Adam's straight onto this. He knows exactly what's going on. He doesn't want to let another break get up, so he tags on as well. And by doing that, it strings everyone along as well, and the group is all back together. Now, Nick is smart here. With everybody sitting up, he's like, I'm going to get along with this. I'm going to crack on. And he does that really, really well. Now, I don't want to... I'm in two minds here. Do I join him, or do I sit in the wheels and hope that Nick can establish a bit of a breakaway? But unfortunately, you can see as we come around this corner, the whole group is together. Now, I want you to watch number 5 right in front of me on the blue bike here. I don't know what colour Nick's they are. As he gets ready, looks up the road and launches a bit of an attack. Now, this one is a bit of an important one because he's joined with a cycle house rider. And you've already seen in this group alone, there's 4 cycle house riders in this bunch. And what a perfect time to attack whilst there's been 3 attacks already. He's come in with the counter and he's already got a good gap. Now, for the life of me, I can't figure out why I didn't go with them, because it would be a fantastic group to go up the road with and join Menzies. But, it's all a little too late now. And I think it's right about now when I realise the mistake that I've made, where I try to swing out to the right here, have a bit of a look behind me and try to get the roll happening again, because I don't want to see that cycle house rider go up the front. So I guess, look, I'm going to put it to you guys. What do you think? In this situation, you've got a cycle house rider that's going on a break. We've already got Menzies, my teammate, up the road. What should you do? What do you think you should do? Should you join and try to bridge that gap and try to bring everyone back? Or let that be and hope that Menzies has a kick and wins the race? So, love to hear what you think. Throw some stuff in the comments below and make sure you subscribe. But, look, we'll skip ahead and pick this one up a little bit later on in the race. Alright, so I wanted to just bring you back to Menzies' camera here, and as you can see, the guys that had bridged away from my group have finally made it onto Menzies' group. And I did a bit of a stopwatch test before I did the recording of this one, and there was only a 13-second gap between the Pella and where Men's was. So the gap wasn't as big as we were expecting, or was what I was expecting. But what was good is because this course, it's quite hidden. You can actually sneak away around the corners and up and the uphill and the downhill. You can actually, if you're in the break, you can actually hide away. But look, I just wanted to bring everyone up to speed with what was going on in the race. So we'll pick it up and we'll move a little bit further on. And let's see if the brake can stick. Meanwhile, back in the Pello, the guys are still up the road, being the cycle house rider, the guy on the wheeler bike, Paul and Menz. Especially Paul and Men have been up the road for 44 minutes now. What a huge effort. But in the peloton, there's just been attack after attack after attack. And it's getting a little bit frustrating because some people are willing to work, other people aren't. I get a little bit grumpy with Craig Harvey, who's an absolute legend. So I do apologise, mate. Because, I want people to start working so we can get this all back. But it's obviously in their own interests in order to make this happen. So, you've really got to assess the situation that you're in, I guess. If you are happy to sit at the back of the bunch and not really touch the wind at all and save your legs for the bunch sprint, you're basically putting your faith in everyone else's hands, because if you're happy to compete for a bunch sprint that's going for 4th, then you stay in the bunch. But if you want to make something of this race and you've got the legs to do it, try to break away, try to get out of the peloton and bring the race into your own hands. And this is what I try to do here. I launch a bit of an attack whilst the pace is relatively low on this uphill section and try to drill it over the top here. Obviously, by doing that, causes a bit of a chain reaction in the group behind. And you can see there's been a mass acceleration with the blue rider trying to jump on my wheel. So what I might do now, I'm going to fast forward the clip a little bit further into the race and we can pick it up from there. All right, so you can see that we brought the Adam back, but in doing so, Micky Gallagher put in a monster effort in the rear cam and also managed to bridge across with us. It didn't take too long. So with Menzies and the rest of the crew only a few seconds up the road, Micky Gallagher decides, I've had enough of this, and he absolutely steps on it. Look at the legs of the lad and absolutely drills it up this hill, 900 watts, and I'm sitting in the draft. Obviously, the big Nick Owen identifies that this is a threatening attack, and he jumps in the mix, and poor Adam Olsen in the rear cam absolutely dying to hang on with a whole bunch of grimacing going on there just in order to stay in the wheels, to stay in the race. The whole peloton has been completely strung out. There are gaps opening up everywhere. It's pure chaos, what Micky's done to the field. But that huge attack has bridged across to the group in front, and the gig is up for Menz and the gang. 47 minutes out off the front and finally brought back with effectively 20 Ks left in the race. It was a huge effort and unfortunately just didn't work out this time. So if I wasn't struggling to survive, I would have. Now is the perfect time to launch an attack whilst that group has just been decimated. But you know, it's a little bit tricky. You're just coming into a downwind section of the course. You're doing 47 kilometers an hour. It's probably not the best time to launch an attack, but the idea of it now would be good. Just as everything's been bridged back, just as everyone is sat up, now as a rider, you need to have your head on a swivel to make sure where's that next counterattack going to come from. So anyway, let's pick it up when a bit more action kicks off. All right, so we picked this one up 10 minutes later, and it's been attack after attack after attack, and they've all been brought back. So the group or the peloton is all back together, minus a few guys that might have had a little bit of a spill a few laps ago, but everyone was fine. Now, you can see off the front, we've got one cycle house rider soft pedaling off the front. We've got Nico having a bit of a swig. I'm swung out to the right-hand side. I want to get a bit of a glimpse of how everyone's looking, their faces, see how much pain everyone's in, to get an idea of how much, how people are faring, I guess. Now, what I wanted to talk about here is what makes a break stick. And it really comes down to a few different things. One of those being the right composite of riders coming together, being from the right team. So in this group, we've got R33 and myself, which basically is Menzies as well as Nico. We've got the human key locksmiths with Adam and Micky Gallagher, as well as the cycle house guys, which when we started this race, there was about 4. I don't think there's that many now. So what we want to do here is basically grab those 3 teams and put them in a break, because then that's going to get rid of a good majority of the peloton. And as you can see, we had Nico on the front. Micky Gallagher swings off to the right-hand side, so he's going to sit right at the front. Adam launches an attack. Obviously, Micky Gallagher's not going to jump in that, so he's just going to soft pedal. And Menzies is going to soft pedal. And Nick Owen's going to soft pedal, as well as all the cycle house guys. They're not going to work for this, so it doesn't take much for a gap to grow, because you're relieving it up to the rest of the other individual riders in order to chase this back. And with the rest of our team, because now these guys are my teammates, those guys aren't going to chase the break back. So effectively, we've already been working together for 10 seconds, and the gap's blown out to almost 100 meters now. So that's basically getting the right group of riders together allows the break to stick. So now that we've put in this hard effort, we want to be working really, really hard for the next, providing you're feeling okay, you're working really, really hard for the first, 5 to 10 minutes in order to create that gap, really pushing into that VO2 sort of efforts. And once you've created that gap and you've got round a corner and the peloton's no longer in view, that's when you can knock it back into your threshold or tempo efforts in order to keep the group away. So What's great about this group is not only are we all from 3 different teams, so that's going to reduce the entire peloton going to chase, but we've also got a really good makeup of riders. So we've got, right in the Cycle House kit, we've got Grant Harvey, who's a big-bodied fella. I'm assuming he's going to be really, really good for the sprint. So basically, the way we wanted this group to work is I wanted him to pull on the descents because he's going to provide a good sit for the rest of us. Adam's got a great kick as well as being able to put out some power over the flat. So he's going to take the back straight, and I'm fortunate enough to take the uphill. And basically, we ride like this for the remainder of the race. So look, what we might do is we'll skip ahead to the last lap and pick it up from there. Alright, so you can hear we've just got the bell. It's the last lap, and now the foxing begins. We've got a massive gap on the group behind us of about 1:30, I reckon, almost half a lap. And I'm just kind of biding my time here because I know that Adam has got a ripper kick, as you've seen in one of the Caulfield Carnegie videos down at Glenvale. So I know he can kick. With Craig Harvey in the Cycle House kit, he's a big fella. And Grant Harvey, sorry. He's a big fella. And I'm just assuming he's a bit of a powerhouse. So I'm just mindful of, who my competition is here. Adam's pulling a bit of a turn at the front here, but barely touching the pedals, 250 watts, whatever. Just trying to save the legs. The heart rate's really, really low, and it's full foxing games. But we're not too concerned because that gap is so big at the back that there's no real need or no real urgency here. There's 2 things that are going through my mind here is, okay, do I have these guys beaten in a sprint? Yes or no? No one knows really until the end of the race. So one thought that I was thinking of is on this hill here, because I was still feeling pretty fresh, is on this hill here, is launch a bit of an attack. And I also think that Grant Harvey sort of might have thought about that as well, because he's gone straight into the drops. Now, Adam flicks the elbow, wants me to come across, puts everyone in the gutter. I want no bar of that. I want to sit in behind him. I think I'm in a good spot. There's no chance I'm going to want to hit the front like this and lead them out for a sprint. So I just sit in, and I think Adam's almost accepted his fate a little bit. So if you do launch an attack off this hill, yes, you might be able to get a gap. But then having to carry that all the way around the corner, all into the downhill section, man, that's going to be really tough. And it's a big effort. You're still looking like, from here, we're about 300 meters away. Normally you don't want to be launching your sprint until at least 200 meters from the line. So we hit this downhill section and everyone's real toey. Launching a sprint from the downhill, you're just going to be dragging everyone across unless you can swing out ride, step on the gas and come through really, really hot. I swing out right. I want to make sure that I know where Grant is from behind me. Adam launches the sprint and it's now on. I'm sitting in his draft. Things are all really, really pretty here. We get closer to line. And then I absolutely step on it. I get around him, and fortunate enough, I'm able to hold off a surging Grant Harvey. I take out the win, and it was a ripper race. And really, as soon as we crossed the line, I was looking behind, thanking my 2 frenemies that worked so well together. It was, fantastic race. So I definitely encourage everyone to get down to Northern Cycling on a Sunday. They run crits throughout the winter. In fact, this weekend, on the 30th even, there's a bit of a team time trial, so make sure you do check them out because I definitely encourage you to come down. Really professional outfit. But guys, look, thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, throw some comments in below, and I'll be seeing you next week. Ciao.